steroids. Y'all don't talk about that. So we don't know. We really don't know all the fighters he beat. And he was on, what? He could have been not clean in a lot of fights.
For all my hard work and for leaving him, you big useless dosser. You've let a little steroid man come up from middleweight and set about you and take all your belts. But he's going to have to take a real British Lancaster.
Take his license away, because you have to send the right message out to the rest of the people that are out there that think they can actually get away with doing whatever it is he's done.
Johnny Nelson explodes with a bombshell the moment the cameras roll. There's no hesitation, no polite lead-in. He's not holding back, and the look in his eyes says it all. The Alexander Usyk victory over Daniel Dubois might look clean to casual fans, but Nelson isn't buying it. He hints, with a raw edge in his voice, that something far more sinister could be lurking beneath the surface.
Unfortunately, there is going to be, there needs to be an inquiry straight after this, why, what. But that's what I'm hearing. The news is as fresh to me as it is you. I'm quite sure when this goes out, it'll be all over
The steroid talk isn't just a throwaway comment anymore. It's accusatory, forceful, and it lands like a right hook to the temple of Usyk's reputation. Nelson isn't indulging in casual speculation. This is war talk, the kind of allegation that can shake the very foundation of a fighter's career. And it gets worse. Nelson doesn't just throw suspicion into the air. He goes as far as suggesting that something was actually found in
What I'm saying is what they found in his system. Now this is one thing they've got to find out, this one thing we've got to prove. He's saying this is all I've done, that's what I've done. You know, and if that's adverse, if that's a performance enhancing drug, then I'm guilty.
Usyk's system. A claim this explosive doesn't just cause ripples. It sets off a storm that could engulf the entire heavyweight division. The credibility of one of the sport's most celebrated champions now hangs by a thread. Former world champion Duke McKenzie isn't tiptoeing around the issue either. He goes straight for the jugular. According to
So success, her winning, is a bigger deal than people actually realise. McCaskill come five.
I want to touch McKenzie. If Usyk is guilty of using performance-enhancing drugs, it's not just a matter of banning him. In a brutal sport like boxing, where one punch can end a life, cheating is the ultimate sin. McKenzie argues that if these allegations hold any truth, Usyk should be erased from the sport entirely. You don't just break rules in boxing, McKenzie warns. You break trust, and trust is everything. The implication...
Everybody asked him to go through, not just a UCAD procedure, but a national anti-doping procedure, and you get fully cleared. And, you know, the argument that frustrates me the most is, yeah, bet he's serving asylum.
Are massive. This isn't just a post-fight controversy anymore. It's a ticking time bomb threatening to explode. If a rematch happens with these accusations hanging overhead, the cloud of suspicion could drown the sport itself. Then comes Simon Jordan, who doesn't deal in whispers or rumor. He approaches the situation with a clinical, legal eye. Jordan lays out what could be a devastating roadmap for Team Usyk.
I'm saying the general consensus, if you read the responses to everything, is, has there been a UCAD ban? There has never been a UCAD ban, there has never been a fine, there has never been a suspension.
Failed drug tests aren't just an embarrassment. They open the door to litigation, to procedural punishment, and to retroactive changes in the record books. Jordan makes it clear, if the accusations hold weight, Usyk's wins could be stripped away, his legacy shredded. A rematch wouldn't just be about redemption for Daniel Dubois, it would be about delivering justice inside the ring. But just when it feels like the walls are closing in, Eddie Hearn steps forward. Calm, composed, and laser-focused, Hearn acts as the voice of reason amid the chaos. He throws the burden of proof back on the accusers. Show the evidence, or drop it, Hearn says with icy defiance. To him, the entire narrative falls apart without concrete proof. Still, even Hearn's calculated defense can't erase the cloud that now looms over Usyk's triumph. Public opinion isn't shaped by lab reports or legal jargon. It's shaped by perception. And right now, perception is chaos. Hearn might be clinical in his rebuttal, but even he knows the questions won't go away easily. The reality is harsh.
AJ twice, Fury twice, Dubois twice. Unbelievable.
But did you see that you know, they had... It's a little bit out of context here. I hope he doesn't hear it, but...
If Dubois wasn't simply outclassed in the ring, but outgunned by something beyond natural ability, What if those vicious punches, the ones that ultimately broke him down, came from a man with an unfair advantage? If the rematch is greenlit, it won't just be about titles or bragging rights. It will be about redemption, vindication, and the future credibility of the sport itself. Usyk won't just need to beat Dubois again, he'll need to silence an entire narrative that's poisoning everything he has built. Meanwhile, Dubois may be more dangerous now than ever. Humiliated once, he now carries public sympathy and a burning thirst for revenge. Eddie Hearn breaks it all down like a man who's seen every side of the fight game. He's clear about what he witnessed at Wembley. Dubois came in confident, applying pressure early, but Usyk adapted like only champions do. He didn't just survive the storm, he responded by dismantling Dubois round by round. That's the kind of performance that usually silences critics. But these whispers about performance enhancers cast a different light on the fight. If Usyk did this clean, then fans just witnessed
Alexander Usyk, you have to be mentally disturbed in your head. Yeah?
You have to be mentally disturbed.
Yeah, because you have to understand.
Well, to take the fight in the first place.
Yeah, because when I saw him a couple of months ago,
yeah,
I had a coffee with him, we were just chatting. The guy lives in Ukraine.
Yep.
Yeah. He goes, oh, before I came on the plane, I was sleeping in my house, and then there was missiles going over my house, and I didn't want to go in the bunker. I was like, I'll just go to sleep. That's some craziness, isn't it? I mean, like, imagine you now, you're in your house in Barna, Timbuktu, and then missiles going. What are you gonna be like?
Yeah, he's cut from very different.
One of the most surgical beatdowns in heavyweight history. But if there's even a shred of truth behind the allegations, then what the world saw wasn't dominance, it was injustice. This is why the rematch feels inevitable. Dubois has every reason to demand it, and Usyk now has more than titles to defend. He has his entire reputation on the line. Derek Chisora, never one to sugarcoat, takes a different angle. He attacks the psychology behind even stepping into the ring with Usyk. To sign a contract to fight that man, Chisora says, you've got to be twisted in the head. Not reckless, but fearless to the point of delusion. That's the reality Dubois faced walking into Wembley. And Chisora's comments raise an important question. What happens when someone who's already been broken by Usyk wants to come back for more? Does Dubois possess that kind of madness? The kind that can transform defeat into something legendary? Chisora paints Usyk as a riddle only the insane would attempt to solve. But in his
Usyk, I don't think there's nothing more for him to prove. What is he's in a situation like all good fighters when they start coming to the end of the career. You've got the next gen coming through. You've got your upperties that want to move up and fight him. You've got the young guns.
His crushing defeat, Dubois might have discovered something inside himself even more dangerous. A reason to step back into the fire. That raises the stakes even higher. A rematch wouldn't just be a test of skill, it would be a battle of wills of minds. Joe Gallagher, meanwhile, focuses not just on Usyk's greatness, but on what the future holds. He says it plain, Usyk doesn't need to prove anything anymore. He's dismantled legends, made monsters look average, and set a standard that feels untouchable. But Gallagher warns that this is precisely when danger creeps in. The new generation is hungry, powerful, and desperate to prove themselves. Dubois is that next-gen wolf at the door, and now he has more than ambition on his side. He has a narrative of injustice. If the steroid talk continues to gain traction, Gallagher's praise of Usyk's greatness will come with an asterisk. This is exactly why the rematch could become historic. It wouldn't just be about a young challenger trying to take down the king. It would be about one man attempting to reclaim his name from whispers of corruption, while the other fights to show he never lost clean in the first place. Dave
up at the count of 10, and he walked straight past Usyk, straight to the corner. It was completely fine. I think. And you know what? It's horrific to say I've quit. It's not horrific to say I'm quit. I'm chairman of the quit committee. I'm top quitter, I guess. Anyway, he quit. Yeah.
Allen doesn't pull any punches in his assessment. To him, Dubois didn't just lose, he quit. No excuses, no hidden injuries, just a clean surrender. That's the truth as Allen sees it. But what if there's more to the story? Allen's words highlight the deeper issue. When a heavyweight exits the ring as calmly as Dubois did, it doesn't just raise doubts about his toughness, it raises questions about what he felt in there. What if Dubois knew on some instinctive level that something wasn't right? What if the punishment he absorbed didn't feel natural? Allen might mock Dubois, but others see his quiet exit as an unspoken protest. That's why the rematch matters. It's not just about rewriting a loss, it's about confronting shame and suspicion head on. Don Charles adds even more fuel to the fire. Known for his blunt assessments, Charles doesn't rant or rage this time. He just delivers one cold cutting word, conned. That's not a word you throw around lightly. To be conned in boxing isn't just to lose.
I'm speechless. I usually got a lot to say. I'm speechless. The fight ended in round 4 and we got...
It's to be cheated, robbed of a fair chance, and that sentiment cuts to the heart of the controversy. Some might dismiss Charles as emotional, but when you align his statement with Johnny Nelson's steroid allegations and Duke McKenzie's calls for punishment, the noise starts to sound like something more. Integrity is at stake here. If Dubois was truly up against an unfair advantage, then this rematch becomes more than a sporting event. It becomes a moral obligation. Adam Smith brings composure to the storm, but even he can't ignore the odd rhythm of that night at Wembley. He notes that Dubois showed real heart in the 3rd round, pressing forward, landing shots. But then Smith drops a key detail. Many of those punches were partially blocked, so why did it still seem like Usyk was reacting? And why, when it was all over, did Dubois walk past his opponent with no stumble, no daze, as if nothing had happened? Did he quit purely from pain, or was it something deeper, a silent protest? Smith doesn't draw a conclusion, but his observations add another crack in the narrative. Hamza Shiraz, on the other hand, doesn't entertain any of the speculation. He sees Usyk as the king, period. Usyk promised he'd knock Dubois out, and he delivered. To Shiraz, there's no controversy, no confusion.
Well, at the end of the 2nd round, I thought Daniel did really well in the 3rd round, actually, to come back and landed a few right hands, but they were sort of partially blocked. Usyk never really gets hit flush. There was that other sort of low blow type body shot, exactly like the one in Poland, which they sort of shook off. And yeah, unfortunately, Daniel was trying to catch him with the right hand, and it was the right hand that led to the end for...
He saw it in Usyk's eyes, in his walk, in the aura he carried into the ring. But that's the contradiction fueling this split in the sport. One camp sees a masterclass, the other sees foul play. Was Usyk's cold, calculated dominance the product of ice in his veins or chemicals in his blood? This is why the division demands closure. The whispers have become shouts, and the rematch has become a necessity. If Usyk was clean, let him prove it under the brightest lights with the strictest testing imaginable. But if Dubois truly believes he was crushed by an unfair advantage, then he won't rest until he gets his chance at revenge. And make no mistake, the rematch won't just be about belts, rankings, or even pride. It will be about justice. One man will fight to clear his name, the other will fight to reclaim his, and the entire boxing world will be watching, desperate for answers.
Parker's deserved his shot. I think Parker should get a world title fight regardless, even if Usyk vacates the belts.
Hands off. Usyk fought like a heavyweight, not a cruiserweight in there tonight.
Yeah, no, he did. He stood on business, man. He stood on business, and he said he was going to knock the bar out, and he done exactly that.
Hamza Shiraz isn't here for debates. He's here to salute the king. According to him, Usyk said he'd knock Dubois out, and he delivered no controversy, no confusion, and Shiraz saw it coming. In the eyes, in the walk, in the aura. That's the mark of a killer. But here's the contradiction. How can one camp say Usyk cheated and another say he was just too mentally sharp, too focused? That raises the question, did Usyk destroy Dubois through skill or supplements? Shiraz doesn't even acknowledge the allegations. In his world, the fight is already history, but that's exactly what makes this split so intense. Half the sport sees a masterclass. The other half sees foul play, and what's more, Usyk's calm and cold dominance only adds fuel to both arguments. Was it ice in his veins or chemicals in his blood? That's the split, that's the fury, that's the rematch everyone needs. Because if Usyk was clean, let him do it again. Louder, clearer, deadlier. But if Dubois believes he was crushed by an unfair advantage, then he won't sleep until he gets that ring run back. The division demands closure.